Good morning, Instagram, and good morning, YouTube. This is Commander Holmes here, and I have an important announcement for y'all. Well, message, actually. And it's the one y'all need to pay attention to. And it's this: secession is our only hope. Now, I hear people tell me all the time, well, you can't leave the Union. That's treason. Actually, these idiots don't even know the definition of treason. Treason is levying war upon your own people, or aiding to the enemy, of which Lincoln did both. Not to mention, Lincoln also invaded Mexico. But they're not going to talk about that. And so, the problem with this is they don't teach this in the public schools, and they've dumbed down the people by teaching only the winner's side of history, not the others. Now, what does that do, you may ask? It mentally reconstructs them psychologically. It brainwashes them. And this is why we are the dumbest generation in history. We are the dumbest generation. People were born with genitalia, don't know who they are, or so-called what gender they are. So these idiots will basically let their children decide when they're babies and they don't even know? What is wrong with these people? We are a nation of morons and pussies. Yes, I said pussies. Because you have so many people that would rather sit back and be silent. Well, I, for one, am not silent. In fact, I do everything I can to express the truth. Of course, I get hate for it, but it's the truth, and you people need to wake up and realize it. Y'all are pathetic and you're all being played. Y'all are all being played. They tried this crap in the election. They do this all the time in the Virginia election. Even in Georgia, they did it. So are y'all just going to sit there and be sheep? I mean, really. They done this for money. They did this for the New World Order. This is in Revelation, by the way, people. The one world government. This is in Revelation. You had Satanists last year in major cities in the U.S. marching for one world government. And they were the Church of Satan. They marched in D.C., Seattle, Richmond, Durham, North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, major cities, including Atlanta and Baltimore. Y'all need to wake up and realize this. The time is now, people. The time is now. If our founding fathers were to see what we have now, they would be outraged. I'm sickened by this country, how they do to us. They claim that we're so-called fighting for patriotism and freedom, when in reality, we are just invading other countries for their resources. And that is called imperialism. Now, I get all kinds of arguments with people that say, oh, but we're not imperial, so we're the freest country on earth. Bull. If that was the case, then how come we have to have a permit for guns? How come you have to have a permit for almost everything? It's bull! It is bull. And I strongly believe taxation is theft. You want to see a free country that we should take notes from? Of course, the media always trash talks them and demonizes them. And you know who that is? Russia. In Russia, you can buy military equipment without paperwork or a permit. While in the U.S., oh, they're trying to ban that, etc. We are not free. We are slaves to the system. Yes, I said it. We are slaves to the system. We are morons. We're a nation of morons. We really are, and we let the media control us. In Russia, they don't. That is who we should be taking notes from, people. That is who we should be taking notes from. And I understand that many of you might not like Russia, etc., because of the media. Don't listen to them idiots! They're morons! They hate you. That is why they have waged war upon us Southerners, to where we cannot have our heritage, where they try to take down our monuments and our flags. Our ancestors, they fought for independence against a tyrannical government. No different than 1776. What are we having now? We're fixing to see a repeat. You people are stupid. And it's people like you that are going to make history repeat itself for not paying attention. You're morons. And yet you call the South traitors? Look at what we're in today, people. History repeating itself. What is wrong with you people? What is wrong with you people? We are fixing to see a repeat because you people are too stupid and too ignorant. Instead of listening to the winner's logic, of which you do, instead you should have looked at state archives, national archives, and the Library of Congress. Not this horse crap they teach. I am sick of it and it fires me up. Y'all want to know why we are losing our country? Our so-called, U.S.? I'll tell you why. Because they're ignorant people like you that are too scared to make a stand. And you're afraid of being offended because people try to tell you that you are a certain gender, of which you are, when you're born with genitalia. Then you try to take them to court for it. What are we, communist China? Seriously. And guess what happens in China? They are controlled by their corporations and their government. We are about on that same road, people. We are about on that same road. In the United States Constitution, it says that if our government has become too corrupt, that we have a right to abolish and reset it. Also, 10th Amendment, powers reserved to the states. That also falls under secession, where a state can legally leave the Union. Legally. Any state. Because that falls under states' rights. It also falls under states being able to sovereignly govern themselves without the consent of the U.S. government. But they don't teach that in schools. They say, oh, treason, etc., treason. Is that why none of them were tried for treason? Seriously. It mind boggles me how stupid these people are. And to the ones who watch the media, they do everything the media says. If the media told you to jump off a bridge, would you? I wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't. They're trying to control our lives, both mentally and physically. Using this COVID nonsense. Okay, I get it. COVID is a disease. Made in China! Made in Wuhan. There is documents about that. In Operation Lockstep Rockefeller, of which I have downloaded. But it was a man-made disease, and it was made in a laboratory. So what was that made for, you may ask? Biochemical warfare. Biochemical warfare. Meaning that they were using that upon an attack upon the world. And it's time that you people realize that and see that. Instead of being brainwashed sheep about it. China lied, people died. It's that simple. And now you have states like New York that are trying to make a COVID detention center. In other words, a concentration camp for people who don't take the shot. What are we? Communist China? China does that to Christians? They have their own concentration camps for that. Have we become communist China? Let that sink in, people. Let that sink in. Have we become communist China. And China has very bad gun laws, people. We're about to be on the verge of that. Communism is at your back door, and it is us to reset it all. Reset it all. Voting is not an option anymore. Both parties have backstabbed the people. You have the Republican Party. They went against the Second Amendment, and they pushed a bump stock ban. Okay, and then it gets even worse from there. You have the Dems. They violated the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. All of them in the Bill of Rights. All of them. And then you say that we are the most free country on earth. No, we're not. No, we're not. Because we have red flag laws, we have the Patriot Act, the Logan Act, you name it, even federal supremacy. You know what the Patriot Act does? It allows the federal government to spy on civilians. Are we free? No! We are not free. It is time for y'all to wake up and see that. You want to know why they talk about the South so much? Illegal occupation. In 1867, only one state legally joined back, and that was Tennessee, after all the cities collapsing. Their economy gone completely down the drain. Then you had Florida, Virginia, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, Arkansas, and guess who else you had? Florida. Now, I'm going to get probably some hate for what I'm fixing to say, but West Virginia shouldn't even exist. Violation of Article 4, Section 3 of the United States Constitution states that a state cannot legally break into two if there is no consent of Congress. And so I'm going to get hate for this, but you had rich corporations in the Panhandle that were pushing to break away from the Commonwealth. And from there, these carpetbaggers broke the western part off. Southern and Central sided with the Commonwealth of Virginia. But they're not going to teach us that in schools because it goes against their agenda. Because not only was that part pro-secession, but they didn't have much slavery. They didn't. And the majority didn't. It's time that y'all wake up and see that. It really is. It is disgusting. If only we would have taught what actually happened, what's in the archives, what's in the soldiers' diaries, you name it, we'd be in a much better place. Not this garbage from a liberal school book. And yes, I'm going to call it a liberal school book because it is lies from the federal regulated government that lie to you. It's the same government that killed JFK because he was going to expose him. One of our greatest presidents who ever lived. On top of that would be JFK. Well, I mean not JFK, but Jefferson Davis. And Jefferson Davis, let me tell y'all something about him. Y'all always hear these lies about, oh, he was a racist and all that. No, he wasn't. He adopted a black boy after his father had beaten him almost to death while his wife was on a trip out of Richmond. And she went to Maryland. When she came back, she had a little black boy with her. Adopted him and raised him as his own son. And you know what happened? When the Union Army seized, raided, and invaded Richmond, they took him and they killed him. The Union even killed a little black boy for swimming on the beach wrong. And you may be wondering where that happened at. California. Now, California was a secret Confederate state as well that people don't know. The southern half were secessionists. They had their own secession flag. So, much like this, well, the stars and bars, how you have one line, and then one line like that, and then a circle with the stars. Instead of having the circle, they had 17 stars on it. And the top left corner, the two stars, were most significant because they represented Oregon and California and the Washington Territory. And what they wanted was a free republic, allied with the Confederacy. They wanted that because they felt the Union had failed them. You're seeing that today, people. It's failed the people. We, the people, have had enough. This is why we need secession, people. This is why. This is why, people. Our ancestors were not evil, the ones in the South. They were Christians. Now, I always hear people tell me, oh, but you're not a Christian if you have slavery, etc. Shut your mouth. Just because a few rich people controlled the economy does not mean nothing. It doesn't. Just shut your mouth. They were Christian men and women, and they called themselves the Bible Belt. The Bible Belt. If it wasn't for the Confederates, we would not have Christianity today in the South or in the nation. In 1847, the churches had broken off from each other due to the adoption of French infidelity after the Revolutionary War. The country had taken a spiritual downfall. And so you had the South, they started doing these revivals when the war had broken out because Lincoln made it contraband to even buy a Bible during the war. He made it contraband. You could not buy them. And so from there, you know what we had to do? We had to make our own Bible tracts. And then from there, we contacted the ABS, the American Bible Society, because they sided with the South during the war. And from there, we was able to make our own Bibles of the New Testaments and the Old Testaments. And so they were given to each soldier. And then Union POWs were given their own as well. They were given their own Bibles as well. One of my favorite ones that they had was a little tract they wrote in the 1860s during the war by the Confederates. The Confederates wrote the Soldier's Bible. It wasn't made of paper. It was made of wood. Made of wood because our paper, it had been contraband of war. So you had little pieces of paper that were just used for war. The others had to be made of wood. And so you had a number of Confederate soldiers demanding they have more chaplains for the war. Stonewall Jackson ordered them. Lee ordered them. Almost every single Confederate general ordered them. The South was very, very religious. And I'm talking religious, I'm talking about Christian. They were Baptist, Methodist, Lutherans, or as they call them, Reformed Germans, Free Will Baptists, all of them, all together. Now the churches are more divided than ever. The only thing that can fix that is if we have a revival like we did in the 1860s. That is what will solve it all. You have a revival like the Great Confederate Revival, or as they call it, the Third Great Awakening, and it'll solve everything. It will solve everything. And that is what we need, people. The difference between the Confederate Constitution and the U.S. Constitution is they talk about slavery and all that. The school book does, but in the Confederate Constitution, it banned the importing of slavery in the American South. It banned it. So how can it be pro-slavery when it ban it? Think about that, people. Think about that. Because you know what flag had slavery for 87 years versus 5? The United States. Now, I hate the United States. I like the people, but I hate the government. It is the same government that murdered the Native Americans. They invaded the Kingdom of Hawaii, stole their rights away. They invaded and illegally occupied the southern states. They have waged war on half the world, invaded them in the name of imperialism, and they call it terrorism when in reality they're just stealing their resources, which is what we're doing to the Middle East. We're taking their oil, etc. We have enough oil to last us. So why are we going to, you know, international nations and taking it from them? Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Or it doesn't beg the question why we're giving Israel billions of dollars when we could be using that money to fix their own broken economies in these rural areas. Like you have rural Appalachia. They've been in poverty since the 1960s, and it's getting worse. You have some places where they don't have fresh drinking water. You have some to where their economy's on the verge of collapsing. We could be using that money, but instead, no, we just give it to Israel for nuclear warheads. It's funding our demise right there. It is funding our demise because what if they betrayed us? They would kill us. They have enough to do so. So, it is up to y'all to be wise and not woke. Learn the truth through state archives, national archives, you name it, but not the lies that they teach you. Don't pay attention to the lies. They use this propaganda to brainwash you, to dumb you down, and make you know nothing. Because if you knew what they did to us, you would realize that we were right, and that if the rest of the country knew about it, there would be another revolution. There would. There'd be another war. And that's coming, people. That is coming. They may hate us now, but when they're in the glimpse of communism, when they see these flags, they will see it as freedom. They will beg to see that because they'll be living in communism. They will beg to see that. They will beg to see actual freedom lovers. Not what we have now. What we have now is not freedom. We're on the gateway to communism. We're on the road to communism. This is communism at your back door. And there is both sides of sided with this. You have some Republicans who have went against the Southerners, told them they can't have their statues and their flags, etc., that they would remove the names off of buildings, etc. You know who does that? Communist China. Communist China does that. But they do that to heroes of the Republic and beyond. You know what else they do? The U.S. does? They remove churches. They remove some of their crosses off when the liberals disagree. Another thing China does, they destroy churches and they persecute Christians. We're on the verge of that, people. We are on the verge of that. Revelation talks about that. But in California, they've did that. In New Jersey, they removed a cross to World War I soldiers a few years ago. A cross. Because they said it was offensive. If you are offended by the Word of God, then you are lost. You are lost, and I pray for you. I pray you will get saved before it's too late. Because, my friends, we're going to be living on hell on earth. We are. And the only thing that can save you is Christ. The only thing that can save you is Christ. When it comes to the nation-wise, what can save you is secession and a Christian revolution. That's what happened. One of my favorite verses is this. Romans 1:16. I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it is the power of God, the salvation of everyone who believes. If you are offended by God, then you're what's wrong with this country. You're what's wrong with this world. Because God always tries to correct you from your mistakes. So, thank y'all for watching. May God bless y'all. Have a blessed day, and God bless y'all. Dio Vindice, and I hope y'all have a very blessed day, y'all. If you have anybody that's not saved in your family, I pray to you to save them before it's too late. Because, my friends, the only thing that will save you is Christ. Christ is the only thing that will save you. So have a blessed day, y'all, and God bless y'all. Dio Vindice.